In a PRS competition, 7 SWC could be the difference between being on target and off target, specifically when considering wind, but it also makes a really compelling hunting cartridge. In this video, we're going to talk about why. Hey guys, Gavin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. We just published a video outlining what we plan to do with Sherman Wildcat cartridges in the coming year on the channel, and this is our first big project. This is going to be a complete rifle build in 7 SWC, aka 7 SWC. What is 7 SWC? So real quickly, this is a short action cartridge that has magnum performance with a 308 bolt face. So if you want to run the short action platform with a 308 bolt face, you want long high BC 7mm bullets, this is going to give you the best possible performance with that combination of criteria. And what I want to start with is, what are the components for the build? This is a really exciting build. At the heart of it all, we've got the Bat Hammerhead action. Bat Machine is world renowned for their bench rest actions. They also have a line of tactical actions. This is one right here. The Hammerhead combines the performance and the quality that you saw with the Bat TR in the channel, but this has a 75-degree bolt throw. And it's also got multiple bolt stop options so that if you're running a shorter cartridge, you can have a shorter throw on your bolt. Really, really great action. We've got a Bix'n TacSport Pro X 2-stage trigger. This is light. It's absolutely just like glass. And if you're curious about the Bix'n triggers, we have an entire shootout that we did. We put them all on the trigger scan, and this was one that I wanted for this bench and PRS rifle build. We've got Hawkins Precision M5 DBM. We used this on our last build that we did with Samson. We've got Foundation Samson. This thing is a gem. It is made of micarta, which is a special material that does not react like wood does to things like humidity and temperature. It's got precision inletting. They don't require bedding. We've proven that time and again here on the channel. This has got the brass weights and accents and parts, and that's going to be a great platform for this build. We're using this time, for the first time, a barrel blank from Custom Rifle Barrels, CRB. This is an 1¼ inch straight taper. It's got 1 8 twist. I think it's going to be a great barrel blank for this build. I've got a reamer from Manson. I've got a go gauge here. They're also sending me a go gauge for both this and the 7 Sherman short builds that we're doing. But if needed, I can do that build without. We've got brass. This is the 7 SWC brass. You'll notice here, and we'll have more specifications and specifics on this cartridge. It's got a 40-degree shoulder. So it's kind of AI in appearance and totally optimized for maximum performance, 308 bolt face, and short action platform. This brass is by Alpha Munitions. And again, on this channel, we've shown time and again how strong this brass is, how consistent it is, what kind of great accuracy we can get with it. In fact, our best ever. So this build is going to be totally rad. I'm going to go and do my homework and then step up to the lathe and start machining this barrel. Okay, so the build is completely done. I can't wait to share with you the results, but before I do that, I want to talk about 7 SWC. What is it that we built here? 7 SWC is a short action cartridge. It's 7mm with a 308 case rim. It's got a 40-degree shoulder. It feeds from a 308 Winchester magazine, but without binder plate. So 6.5 PRC magazines, for instance, are short action, but they don't have a binder plate, and they have a maximum internal capacity of 2.960 inches. That's what we want, but we want that with the feed lip geometry from 308 Winchester. So if you go to buy a magazine, you can specify 308 Winchester, but without the binder plate, and that gets you out to 2.960 inches. Okay. The 7-SWC is optimized for bullets in the 180 to 195 grain range, right? And those are the high performance, high BC bullets. It was first tested in 2024, and that was kind of when the primary design work was happening. Here we have a cartridge diagram that I created from a 3D CAD model. It's actually an assembly with a primer, shell casing, and bullet. And that will give you some of the specifics, if you're interested in reloading this cartridge, in evaluating how it's going to fit with your plans. Okay, so we already talked about the core rifle build components. On the optics side, I chose the Element Theos 6-36 by 56. We have an entire tested story where we put this on our optics test rig. We've used it on multiple rifles, and it is absolutely a winner. Japanese glass, toolless, turret adjustments, zero stop without any work with set screws and a ring. Really great optical quality, tracks perfectly, and mechanically holds a really, really great zero. The perfect optic for this build. Okay, so let's talk about the rifle build process. I selected my Precision Matthews PM1440 HVT2 for the job. I've been using it for a lot of chambering jobs. It's got variable speed, ultra precision, and just a real delight to work with. I took the tenon print. Bat Machine provides tenon prints that are very detailed and have basically just the information that you need and nothing that you don't. If you go to the Bat Machine website and go to the particular SKU, in this case we have Hammerhead, there's a download print button right there on the page. This is going to be 1.1/16 inch by 18 TPI. And there's no counterbore to work with here, so that saves a little bit in the process. And what I do now when I'm chambering rifles is I go through a checklist. The first thing before even starting the work is to enter a few parameters into my build spreadsheet, and that gives me a flow for each of the critical dimensions for the different steps that I conduct. So real quick, measure the action and validate the tenon print specifics and generate the flow. Install the barrel, indicate to a half thou. Pre-drill chamber area, and this is going to be basically the body minimum minus 20 thousandths of an inch. That's the tolerance that we're leaving there. Indicate the barrel to 1/10 thousandth of an inch. Single point bore the chamber area true, right? This is so that the reamer has a landing spot that is not wobbling at all. The reamer is going to go straight in. It's just going to track nice and straight because a reamer will follow the hole that it's reaming, right? And then we go in with, I went in with a straight flute reamer to ream off the lands in the neck area of the chamber. That's at finished depth so that we don't have any reamer wobble with that more flexible front end of the reamer as it's finishing the chamber cut. We turn the tenon down to diameter, turn the thread reliefs. On this case, it's just an inboard thread relief, and it's the 45-degree chamfer on the outside. Thread the tenon. If needed, clock the action. Now, I was really impressed with this custom rifle barrels blank, CRB. 28-inch finished length. It indicated really true in terms of the concentricity of the OD of the barrel shank versus the concentricity of the lands and the grooves. Really impressive. So I did not have to clock the action in an upward direction. That's just so that you can center up your windage, basically, when you zero your scope, and even gain elevation if it's applicable, right? Okay, so no counterbore to cut the bulk of the chamber, basically to depth minus about 25 thousandths of an inch. All the while I'm doing run out checks to make sure that I don't have chatter and run out, that kind of thing. Calculate the final cut, make the final cut, check headspace, bore scope the chamber and throat area. Perfection. Very even throat transition cut areas evident. Really clean cut with this Manson reamer that I was using. Slight chamfer to the chamber entrance and a polish to make sure that as the rounds are feeding in, they don't encounter any resistance there. I used a pin gauge at the 0.2 line to make sure that the back of the chamber was at its proper dimension. It was nice and tight, and then remove the barrel from the lathe. Then I flipped the barrel around, turned the muzzle end down and did a conventional 5/8 by 24 muzzle threading job. So after engraving the barrel, tightening the barrel down to the receiver, doing a final headspace check, and assembling the barreled action in the Foundation Samson stock, it was time to head to the range. And I was using the 100-yard mid-mountain range at the Ultimate Reloader Ranch. I love it when I see initial results like this. This was the first shot on paper. The next 3 shots went into a group at 100 yards, measuring 0.159 inches. Sometimes you just get a sense that a rifle is going to shoot, and this obviously makes me feel that way. The initial load that we're using here, brand new Alpha Munitions brass, Varget powder, and Berger 180 grain hybrid bullets, long range hybrid. The Berger 180s are just one of these magic bullets, literally. They have shot phenomenal in everything I've tried them in, including 7 PRC W, 7 PRC, and so on and so forth. This is literally like a magic bullet. So after getting on paper, I decided to do just a very lightweight 3-powder charge workup. Derek Webster from Sherman Wildcats gave me some data to work with and a starting point. And so where I started was 39.7 grains, then we went up to 39.9 grains, and then 40.1 grains. So I was chronographing my results here and capturing average, SD, and ES. So we started at 2614 and ended up at 2649, and this is looking really good. We had a 0.196 inch group at 39.7, 0.441 inches at 39.9, and 0.329 inches at 40.1. And look at the SD numbers, 4, 8, and 2.1. Wow. This is looking like a really, really good combination. I will have to say I've had nothing but good results with Alpha Munitions brass, both from a precision standpoint in terms of group size and definitely with the longevity of the brass. Its ability to hold pressure and its ability to withstand repeated firings is literally unparalleled. You're going to want to check out our story where we fired an Alpha Munitions shell casing to failure with annealing between each step. The results were ridiculous. And we've never had a primer pocket open up. Never. And that's not something that I can say really about any other brass, and that has to do with our OCD technology, optimized case head design. Okay, so after doing this simple load workup, my strategy was to take these 3-shot groups and expand on what I thought were the best results and to do 5-shot groups and to compare what my chronograph data would look like and what my group size was going to look like. So at 39.7 grains, we had an average speed of velocity of 2620.9, SD of 6.8, ES of 17.3. This is looking good. The group was 0.524 inches, but 4 of those shots went into 0.232. I'm not sure if the flyer in that group was myself or if it was the load, but next things got insane. Let me show you that. Wow. So the 40.1 grain load had an average speed of 2649.3, an SD of 6.7, ES of 19.5, and 5 shots went into 0.189 inches. This is a 7mm high performance cartridge, and we're in the ones. Solidly, right? The first 3-shot group and then this load with 5 shots went into that size group. Super happy with that. And with an SD of 6.7, this load definitely has serious potential. So I loaded up about 40 rounds and we headed out to do some long range shooting. So it was no surprise when I was just hammering steel at 335 and 660. What really surprised me, now granted this is a 27-pound rifle setup, was it just felt like I was shooting a 6-dasher. The recoil was not bad at all. Granted, I did not shoot positional with this. That would be an interesting additional step. But shooting this thing prone, it just felt smooth, it felt predictable, I could see my trace. And so that led me to want to go to, I think it's 0.8 miles, 1,390 yards, the Herald, the rock chalk target that we had on the hill. Took a couple shots to get on target because of the canyon and some switch winds that we were happening. But check this action out. So 2 shots on steel at 1390 out of 5. That is a great first try at this almost ELR distance. This is a PRS cartridge, and that distance is way further than you're going to go in an actual PRS competition. So midway through the process of working up this rifle build, looking at the load data and shooting, I thought, this feels familiar, this cartridge, right? What's interesting is the 280 AI has a 40-degree shoulder, it's a 7mm cartridge, and it has that 308 case rim. It's kind of like an Ackley improved 30-06 necked down to 7mm. Well, it turns out 7 SWC is kind of like taking a 280 AI and shortening it to short action, right? What really surprised me here, and granted we're using Alpha Munitions OCD brass, so you can't expect this regardless of components, but because we had this hot rod brass and we were able to push the load with no pressure signs, you know, we were able to see 2,650 feet per second, more or less, and there's definitely more left there. We can push this hotter, I just know it. I've talked to Derek about it, and with the signs that we're seeing, there's some more headroom there, right? Well, compare that to Hodgdon's load data for 280 AI. 59 grains of H1000 will get you 2675 out of a 24-inch barrel. We've got a 28-inch barrel, and we're seeing within 25 feet per second with a short action cartridge. This is just ridiculous, right? 280 AI hypothetically gives you a bit more performance potential, but at the cost of having to go to a long action rifle platform. So with Alpha Munitions OCD brass, I think the 7 SWC is going to be a really compelling hunting cartridge. Okay, so at the beginning of the video, I told you 7 SWC could be the difference between being on target and being off target. And specifically, I want to look at a typical long-range target at a PRS competition. Let's say that we've got a target at 800 yards, and we've got winds that are varying between 8 miles per hour and 12 miles per hour, right? It gets a lot worse than that, but this is a very typical scenario that you might encounter in a PRS match. What I did was, I looked at 6-dasher, 6.5 Creedmoor, and 7 SWC to compare the three. 6-dasher, incredibly popular on the lighter end of the bullet weight spectrum for PRS. 6GT, similar performance, potentially a little bit more velocity, but overall you're going to see the same general behavior. What I did is I took a look at 800-yard performance and compared the wind hold for 8 miles per hour and 12 miles per hour, right? So for 6-dasher at 800 yards with a Berger 105, we're going to be seeing a variation of 0.68 mils. That's 2.03 at 12 minus 1.35 at 8. For 6.5 Creedmoor, I used a muzzle velocity of 2,700, and we've got a 140 grain Hornady ELDM bullet. Pretty middle of the road, very practical commodity load for PRS. Here, we've got the difference between 1.76 mil hold at 12 miles per hour and 1.18 mil hold at 8 miles per hour. Again, this is at 800 yards. So we see a total variation of 0.58 mils. Now, enter the 7-SWC. At 800 yards, at 12 miles per hour, we've got 1.44 mil hold, and at 8 miles per hour, we have 0.96 mil hold. So that's a variation of 0.48 mils. So what does this mean? This means that basically, if we take the variation of 6-dasher and call that 100%, we're going to see 15% less wind hold variation in that switch wind condition with 6.5 Creedmoor, and 30% less with the 7-SWC, right? So basically, the difference in variation translates to about 6 inches at 800 yards. And if you take one MOA target, it's only 4.19 inches on either side. So if we look at the wind pushing us off, and we've got a difference of 6 inches, we're 2 inches off the target with our 6-dasher, right? So it is a big difference. And if we have a 2 MOA target, we're talking 8.38 inches on each side. So that 6 inches is a good percentage of that, could easily push you off the target. But let's also take a look at total wind hold, right? The total wind hold for 12 miles per hour is 2.03 mils for the 6-dasher. It's 1.76 for the 6.5 Creedmoor, and it's 1.44 for the 7-SWC. And the percentages trend along with the wind hold difference here, right? 13% less for the 6.5 Creedmoor compared to the dasher, and 29% less for the 7-SWC compared to the 6-dasher. So where this becomes important, let's just assume it's a constant 12 mile per hour wind, is the reticle. The further you get, off the target with your hold, and if you're also holding for elevation, the more complicated your hold gets, and that's going to impair your ability to take a quick shot that lands on target. Whew, that was a lot of data, and this was a huge project and a great experiment, but I am really excited about 7-SWC. When I have a laser accurate cartridge like this that has got some really interesting ballistic capabilities, I'm totally intrigued, and I can say this is a winner, right? Wow. This is an inherently accurate cartridge. It's efficient, it's high performance, and of course it comes with trade-offs. The trade-offs that you need to consider, say as a PRS competitor, are, do I want a little bit more recoil and better wind performance, or do I want less recoil with more wind variability, right? It's a definite trade-off, and there might be no right answer for everyone, but based on what kind of environment you're shooting in and what your goals are and what your rig looks like, 7-SWC is definitely a very interesting option for you to consider. Again, Alpha Munitions brass just hammered this time. I'm also totally sold now on custom rifle barrels. When I see results like this with my very first try, it makes me think I gotta chamber a few more of these, because everything I've heard and everything I've seen now is that custom rifle barrels makes a very, very good quality cut rifle barrel. This, at the end of the day, is one of my probably top 3 favorite rifles. The 22 caliber 223 Trainer is going to be in there, probably my 6-dasher, and this, right? When I can access really easy bench rest level precision, that's just inherently gratifying to me and satisfying. I like to shoot small groups. I like to have consistent performance, right? And these are the kinds of platforms and the kinds of rifles that will give you that. So The other thing I should mention is this is a very compelling hunting cartridge. If you don't want to go to a Magnum, right? If you want to have a 308 case rim and you want 280 AI performance in a short action for a hunting rifle, boom. This 7-SWC has got it handled, right? So what I'd like to know from you is, what did you think of the build and this cartridge, right? This is a specialty cartridge. It's a Wildcat, but Sherman Wildcats has done a really good job of working with the industry, with partners like Alpha Munitions, to make sure that your gunsmith's needs and your reloading needs and your shooting needs are all going to be met. This is a hot rod. This is exotic, but it doesn't come at the cost of you not having all of the resources that you're going to need to enjoy this cartridge. Use it in competition or hunt with it. I will mention that we have more content planned with the 7-SWC, and I'm really looking forward to conducting that research, gathering the experiences and results, and sharing that with you. So again, if there's something that you want to see in the future with 7-SWC, please drop a comment and we'll add that to our suggestion list. Thank you very much for watching. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching Ultimate Reloader on TV and want to take advantage of free resources, exclusives, and hot deals, just hold your camera phone up to the QR code, tap on the link, fill out the information, boom, you're getting Ultimate Reloader emails. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.